Cardi B cries bitterly on live TV after Stef Diggs' surprise proposal. A dramatic and emotional full-length story. The night began like any other major televised event: bright lights, red carpet energy, fans screaming, cameras flashing from every angle. Cardi B was invited to appear on a special live primetime TV interview to promote her upcoming project. Nobody knew this night would become one of the most unforgettable, emotional broadcasts in recent celebrity history. Not even Cardi herself. Glowing star the setup, Cardi arrives confident, beautiful, and unprepared for what's coming. Cardi walked into the studio glowing. She wore a stunning diamond-studded white dress, her hair slicked back in a long ponytail, her makeup flawless. She joked with the hosts, laughed loudly the way only Cardi can, and the show felt lighthearted. She had no idea that backstage, Stef Diggs was pacing nervously, clutching a small black velvet box with shaking fingers. He kept whispering to himself, "Tonight is the night. I gotta do it. I can't lose her." Stef had coordinated everything secretly with the producers. Cardi thought this interview was just routine. But Stef had planned something that would make the entire world stop. Movie camera live on air, the moment the energy changes. About 20 minutes into the interview, the host suddenly smiled mysteriously and said, "Cardi, we have a special guest who insisted on joining us tonight." Cardi's eyebrows shot up. "Who?" she laughed, adjusting her mic. Then the entire studio started shaking with screams as Stef Diggs walked onto the stage, wearing a perfectly tailored suit and holding a bouquet of white roses. Cardi froze. Her mouth dropped. Her hands flew to her face. "Stef. What are you doing here?" The audience exploded. Bouquet. Stef takes her hand. And Cardi's heart stops. Stef hugged Cardi tightly, whispering something into her ear the cameras couldn't catch. Cardi was already emotional, her eyes glossy, her hands trembling. She kept giggling nervously. "You why? You here? I didn't know you was coming. You scaring me." The host stepped back. The lights dimmed. A soft spotlight hit Stef and Cardi alone. Stef took the microphone. The entire room went silent. "Ring the speech that broke the internet." Stef's voice cracked. "Cardi. Belcalis. I've made mistakes. I've hurt you sometimes. We've fought, we've cried, but one thing never changed. I love you. More than I ever knew I could love anybody." Cardi covered her mouth. Tears started streaming down her face already. Stef continued. "You carried me when I was broken. You stood by me when the world thought we were done. You gave me peace when football couldn't. You make me feel like the man I always wanted to be." The audience began crying too. Cardi was shaking. Whispering, "Oh my God, stop, please." Stef's hands were trembling as he slowly got down on one knee. Ring broken heart. Cardi bursts into tears, a breakdown on live TV. The moment Stef kneeled, Cardi collapsed emotionally. She stepped back, sobbing uncontrollably, mascara running, unable to breathe properly. Millions of viewers watched in real time as Cardi broke down. Not from sadness, but from overwhelming love and shock. She kept repeating, "Stef, no way, you doing this on TV? On live TV? I can't breathe." Stef opened the ring box. Inside was a massive oval-cut diamond, sparkling so hard the cameras had to adjust exposure. The crowd screamed. Red Heart, the proposal that shocked the world. Stef Diggs looked up at her with tears in his own eyes. "Belcalis Almanzar, will you marry me?" Silence. The world held its breath. Cardi tried to speak but couldn't. Her sobbing got louder as she covered her face. She bent down, putting her forehead on Stef's shoulder, crying into his suit. Stef held her gently, rubbing her back, whispering, "It's okay baby, breathe, take your time. Finally, after nearly 30 seconds of crying, Cardi looked up, tears pouring down her cheeks. She whispered, "Yes. Yes, Stef. Yes, I'll marry you." The crowd erupted into chaos. The studio shook from the screams. Revolving hearts, the ring goes on, and Cardi breaks down again. When Stef slid the ring onto her finger, Cardi let out a loud, emotional cry, falling into his arms, sobbing so hard producers debated cutting to commercial. But the director said, "Keep it on air." This was history. Stef kissed her forehead, then her cheek, then her lips, holding her tightly as Cardi trembled in his arms. Globe showing Europe, Africa, the internet goes wild. Within minutes, Twitter crashed from the number of posts. Fans screamed, "The proposal of the century." Celebrities commented live. Clips hit 40 million views in less than 20 minutes. People everywhere were crying watching Cardi cry. Dove the aftermath, Cardi's raw, shaking message. When the show ended, Cardi was still wiping tears from her face, barely able to talk. In the backstage clip that later went viral, she whispered, "I didn't expect this, he broke me, in the best way. I can't believe this is my life." Stef held her hand the whole time, never letting go. Dizzy, the final shot. The last image from the broadcast was Stef and Cardi walking off stage, hand in hand, Cardi still crying softly into his chest while fans reached out for her. It was tender. It was emotional. It was unforgettable. A moment that will live forever in celebrity history. Here is an extremely long, emotional, dramatic, YouTube-ready story exactly in the style you love, full of tears, tension, twists, and powerful emotional peaks. Cardi B cries bitterly on live TV after Stef Diggs' surprise proposal. It was supposed to be a normal, high-energy interview. The producers of Good Morning America had invited Cardi B for what they described as a light-hearted conversation about music, motherhood, and future plans. Nothing unusual. Nothing dramatic. Nothing about her relationship. Or so everyone thought. Cardi B walked into the studio that morning wearing a stunning white silk dress that hugged her figure in all the right places. Her hair was laid flawlessly, long and jet black, with soft waves cascading down her back. Her makeup was radiant, warm tones, glossy lips, lashes that fluttered like butterflies. She looked serene, almost glowing, although the world didn't know that Cardi had been dealing with nights of anxiety about where things stood with Stefon Diggs. Despite their intense love, recent days had been full of uncertainty. Were they really ready for a life together? Were they moving too fast? Was Stef truly ready to commit? Cardi carried all of it silently as she took her seat on the GMA couch. She had no idea that today would change everything. The interview begins, but producers know something Cardi doesn't. The cameras rolled. The host smiled. The audience clapped politely. "Cardi, you've had such an incredible year," one of the hosts said, beaming. "New music, a new chapter in your personal life. How are you feeling right now?" Cardi gave her usual charismatic smile, flipping her hair. "I feel blessed. I feel grateful. I feel hopeful, you know," she answered. But her voice had the slightest tremble. "Life been crazy, but when you got love around you, you keep moving." The audience applauded. Nobody noticed her hands shaking lightly in her lap. The host continued the questions, career updates, motherhood, possible tours, and Cardi answered effortlessly, though her eyes kept drifting off as if her mind was elsewhere. And then, one host placed a stack of cards down and exchanged a subtle look with the camera crew. That was the moment things changed. Because unbeknownst to Cardi, Stefon Diggs had arrived at the studio. The lights dim, and Stef Diggs walks in. Suddenly, the studio lights changed, warm gold lighting replacing the usual bright whites. The audience murmured, confused. Cardi looked around, eyes narrowing. "Wait, what's going on?" Before she could process anything, the large screen behind her lit up with a slow-motion highlight reel of Stefon Diggs' greatest moments, from Bill's touchdowns to personal candid moments fans had never seen. Cardi froze. Her mouth fell open. Her heart dropped straight into her stomach. The audience gasped as the studio doors opened, and Stefon Diggs walked in, wearing a tailored black suit and carrying a single white rose. Cardi immediately covered her mouth with both hands, tears already forming. Her voice cracked instantly, "Oh my God, what are you doing here?" Stef smiled softly, but he looked emotional, eyes glassy, chest rising and falling like he was preparing for the biggest moment of his life. He walked toward her slowly. Each step seemed to echo louder than the last. Stef Diggs' heart-shaking speech. Stefon stood directly in front of her. Cardi was openly crying now, confused, overwhelmed, trembling. The cameras zoomed in. The audience went silent. Even the host stepped back to give them space. Stef took Cardi's shaking hands and held them firmly. "Belcalis," he began, using her real name. Her knees nearly buckled at the tenderness in his voice. "You've changed my entire life," he said. "You've shown me love I didn't know I deserved. You've given me peace when everything around me was chaos. You've supported me, pushed me, believed in me." He swallowed hard, tears collecting in his eyes. "You made me a better man. Not just publicly, but privately. The man I am with you is someone I'm proud of." Cardi's lip trembled. Tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. The audience was dead silent. "And I know we've had our ups and downs. We've had moments where we weren't sure. But every day, every single day, my heart chooses you." Cardi cried harder, almost sobbing now. Stef gently placed the rose into her hands. "And today, I want to make sure the whole world knows something. The surprise, live, without warning." Before Cardi could breathe or wipe her tears, Stefon slowly dropped down on one knee. The audience screamed. Cardi gasped so loudly it echoed through the studio. "No, no, no. Stef, oh my God," she said, shaking harder than ever. He pulled out a velvet box. Inside was a massive diamond ring, oval cut, flawless, sparkling so bright the cameras had to adjust exposure. Cardi broke down into loud sobs. Stef's voice was deep, shaking, vulnerable. "Belcalis Almanzar, will you marry me?" The hosts were crying. The audience was crying. Even some of the camera crew had tears in their eyes. Cardi's entire body trembled. She covered her face, shaking her head, not to say no, but because she simply couldn't process something this overwhelming. "Oh my God. Stef. I can't believe this," she sobbed, collapsing into his arms. Stef held her tight, gently stroking her back. "It's okay, baby. Take your time." Cardi pulled back, tears pouring. "Yes," she finally screamed. "Yes. Yes. Yes, oh my God." The studio erupted. Stef slid the ring onto her finger, and Cardi burst into uncontrollable, hysterical tears, bitter tears, tears from deep inside, tears of years of pain finally turning into joy. She pressed her forehead against his. "I love you so much," she whispered. "I love you more," Stef murmured back. But then, a shocking twist. Just when fans thought the emotional roller coaster was over, Stefon wiped Cardi's tears and nodded to the crew. Suddenly, the giant screen lit up again. A live video feed popped up, showing a decorated rooftop with candles, roses, and family members from both sides waiting. The headline on the monitor: "The surprise continues, tonight, a private engagement celebration." Cardi gasped again. "Stef. What is this?" He laughed softly. "Baby, you thought this proposal was the end? This is only the beginning." Cardi cried even harder. Her mascara ran down her cheeks. Her lips trembled. She hid in his chest, overwhelmed beyond belief. The final moment, Cardi collapses in his arms. As the show ended, the cameras captured the most emotional